Here's a tip, very simple. Then I'll explain why it's so important, at least in my opinion. In a change process of any kind, if it's significant, you have to, in the words of somebody a long time ago, win over the hearts and the minds of people. And I wonder sometimes if we would simply let that little phrase ring in our heads all the time, win over hearts and minds, win over hearts and minds, if that little change in what's going on in our brains wouldn't make a huge difference in how we deal with people during a change process and the results we get. Now let me back up. When we studied successful change projects of any kind again, reorganizations, cultural change, new strategy implementations, doesn't matter what the content is, what we found is that small percentage that were particularly effective, they really did work much more than average, not just on trying to get people to think differently, which in turn would change their behavior, but to get people to feel differently, which in turn would change their behavior. In a typical change effort that I've seen over the years, if you could somehow do an analysis on those dimensions, the effort to change thinking, the effort to change feeling, I wouldn't be surprised if on average you found it was 90-10 or at best 80-20, with the 90 and the 80 being on the think part. I once did an analysis in response to a interviewer about MBA programs, and the one that I know the best, and it's even more frightening. About 95% of the program is a work on the mind, change your thinking, and maybe 5% is on a work on the feelings to change your behavior. They learn about, they've been taught about, they've been role modeled about the thinking part. And more, of course, that's what's coming into our organizations, people trained that way. So what? If you go back and study the way the brain has been constructed, if you talk to neurologists, what they tell you is that for whatever reasons, historically, you've got two pieces, this more emotional piece and this thinking piece. And the more emotional piece has a longer history than the thinking side. And it is more tightly connected in a funny way to those nerves that change and regulate our behavior. And if you want to make somebody change to a significant degree, not just a small degree, that's the more powerful lever. And in the most successful cases of change that we've studied, and you do that little percentage comparison, it's more like they work 60% on the heart side and 40% on the mind side. It's not 80-20, but it's not even 50-50. How do they do it? Hundreds of ways. I can't think of any, somebody says to me. No, you can. It's natural. That's the way you're built. You just let it come out. There are thousands of ways that you can create experiences. So much role modeling is just that. It's not, people aren't taking notes. He did such and such. There's a direct kind of emotion to emotion connection that helps you learn something, changes your feelings about something, and changes your behavior. There are hundreds of ways that you can create experiences, that you can feed even data in a way that doesn't just hit the thinking part, but the feeling part. Get the behavior change, make the overall change process work. Go back to the tip. In your little brain, the more that you can have that voice reminding you, you got to win over the hearts and minds, the better it'll work out.